There's a surprising recent survey that found that the median savings balance among baby boomers is a mere $144,000. That's according to a recent Transamerica survey. And the CEO and president of the Transamerica Center for Retirement Studies, Collinson, joins us now to discuss all of the details. So Catherine, at face value, perhaps some people who are not boomers are looking at that 144K being like, okay, I could survive off of that for a couple of years, but give us a sense of just kind of how paltry that number really is.
Well, when we think about it, $144,000 to last a retirement that could add up, could be 20 or 30 years, just isn't going to go very far. It's a very alarming number, and we should see it as a call to action for boomers. I know it's so hard in this economy to really look at and examine their situations and how they're going to plan their retirement and the retirement income.
I think one interesting nugget that you point out is that 401ks didn't become readily available until the 1990s. So a time in which baby boomers were already well into their careers. They didn't have as much time to actually accumulate wealth and invest in their retirement. Do you feel like this sort of disadvantage is having long-term consequences now?
Oh, indeed it is. Baby boomers were well in their careers when 401ks were invented, and the overall retirement landscape has changed from defined benefit plans to 401k plans. And boomers are the closest generation to retirement. Many are already retired, they're entering retirement, and they're looking at how they're going to shore up their savings. Many are planning to work longer and retire at an older age, which is even more difficult in this economy. So yes, they are at a disadvantage, but this is also indicative and an important message for everyone. Over the course of a 30 or 40-year working career, the retirement landscape will change. And we can rely on the system, but we also have to rely on ourselves.
Thinking about the main driver of some of the economic growth, at least here in the US, of course, the Silicon Valleys of the world, a lot of the tech community, as you just heard from the market breakdown, they're definitely, the stay-at-home trades seem to be doing well during this period of time. But those communities and those organizations have been accused of being ageist, right? And once you get to a certain age, they try to phase you out, or middle managers oftentimes are the ones who are the first to go in downturns because they feel overpaid and to some degree. So what is your kind of advice to folks who are trying to figure out a way to hold on to their jobs? Perhaps they got furloughed, perhaps they're trying to find second, third ways of making money, but there don't seem to be opportunities right now in this sort of environment.
Well, that is a fantastic question. And even before the COVID pandemic, we saw that many people, many boomers want and need to extend their working lives with expectations of working past 65. If we look at the BLS statistics and labor force participation and employment rates of people over 65, which was only about 1 in 5, facing very difficult headwinds. And yes, ageism is a concern, and even harder now in a tough job market. But in our research, I'm always looking for actionable glimmers of hope, things that are within reach that people can be doing but may not be doing. And when we asked about extending our working lives and working beyond 65, to me, a surprising few, it was only about half, said they're focused on performing well at their current job. If there was ever time in history to be a superstar at your employer, now is that time. Superstars are going to stand out and be able to weather the storm better. Another surprising finding, fewer than half said they're focused on keeping their job skills up to date. That's something that we all need to do if we are in our 20s or if we're in our 60s. The job market changes constantly, and it's really important to take advantage of employer training programs and grow our skills on our own. Will that guarantee employment in the worst unemployment rate that we've seen since the Great Depression? No, it won't guarantee it, but it can better your chances. And it could possibly open up new avenues for other sources of income through self-employment and other means. If there was ever a time for us to be creative, now is that time.
Another interesting finding in this survey is that many baby boomers expect to rely on Social Security. I think 37% are significantly more likely to expect SS to be their primary source of income in retirement compared to Gen X and, of course, millennials. Is that just sort of a desperate Hail Mary sort of play, as we pointed out earlier in the conversation, that their nest egg is not large at this moment?
I think it's a function of a couple of things. One is generational. And when boomers were entering the workforce, it was not long after the formation of Social Security. And Social Security was a big part, it still is a big part of retirement income for many people. And as I mentioned, 401ks hadn't come along yet. So there was an expectation of a greater reliance on Social Security, perhaps employer pensions, traditional pensions, which we don't see much anymore. And the fact that now they're getting closer to retirement, they have lesser savings. And naturally, as a result, they're more likely to say they're going to primarily rely on Social Security when they retire.
Thanks so much for the breakdown, Catherine Collinson, Transamerica Institute's CEO and President. Appreciate your thoughts.